Shameful Spewing on the King of Babylon and some of the more recent comments. And it just goes back to the Michael Jackson song, "They don't care about us." Well, the King of Babylon doesn't care about you Edomites either. You know. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honor to sales and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching us truth to sincerity. And shout out to the Akims out there in four corners of the earth to proclaim this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash, Brakatam. So here's some Edomites that are very displeased with the way the King of Babylon has been acting lately and the things that he said, and he's told the truth on quite a bit. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody else but himself.
President of the United States of America just looked the world in the eye and said, "I don't think about Americans' financial situations." Oh, but it was taken out of context, you stupid lib. All right, you bootlicking maggot shit stain, let's watch it together.
I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Explain that, you traitorous, tangerine, taint-licking fucking turncoats. Explain how the first time they've ever caught this motherfucker telling the truth on camera, that's when he's explaining exactly how little of a fuck he gives about the people who can't afford food anymore because he started a war to distract them from the fact that he was best friends with a bunch of fucking pedophiles. Explain why, in the same fucking interview, he bragged about how we needed to double the size of the fucking ballroom and then called the reporter a dumb person because she pointed out that the price fucking doubled too. Explain why inflation is almost 4%, the highest it's been since 2023. Going to the gas station feels like a trip to the fucking proctologist, and people are choosing between food and rent. But the only budgets that the president is fucking concerned with are not the ones that allow people to feed their fucking kids, but they're the ones for his ballroom that he's physically incapable of dancing in and the forever war he fucking started. Explain that or get fucked.
Trump's telling the truth here.
Financial business motivating you to make a deal.
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think of
MAGA, did you hear that? Trump never cared about any American. He only thinks of himself. Do you really think he cares about the economic hardships of anyone, even his voters, who, after listening to that, will still defend him because they will never wake up? I'm actually convinced that a good portion of them could be convinced to follow that man off a cliff if he decided to go that way.
Yep.
This man has never thought of anyone other than himself. I don't even think he really cares that much about Iran, if I'm being honest with you. He only cares about himself. Getting more money, more power, more anything for Trump. That has always been his game. That has always been his brand. He's telling you the truth. Are you going to listen?
The ballroom is going to be a few $100 billion and absolutely not paid for by taxpayers, not your tax dollars, explicitly stated by Donald Trump, by Republicans, by all the MAGA influencers. What difference does it make? It's not taxpayer money. Then it is going to be taxpayer money. Then it's going to be $1 billion of taxpayer money. Now he is saying that shouldn't matter at all, and a reporter asks him about the fact that he has more than doubled the size of the budget for the ballroom and has shifted it from donors to taxpayer dollars. And this is what Donald Trump, the President of the United States, our public servant who serves us, has to say to the reporter who is rightfully asking him about that doubled budget and who's going to pay for it. And this is what he has to say to them.
now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. Double the size. You are not a smart person.
He is not even an oaf. He is not even an idiot. He is the most insidious, malignant, narcissist moron that we have ever seen, and he is destroying our country. It is time to run!
Trump just said the quiet part out loud, where millions of Americans are drowning under high grocery prices, skyrocketing rent, expensive gas, and crashing bills. He just admitted that he's not focused on Americans struggling financially. And this is a president who ran a campaign on affordability, lowering prices on day one and making life easier for average American. Now his voters are asking, who is really fighting for us? Let's have a look.
Under the Trump economic plan, we will cut your energy prices in half within, lock it down, and you can get very angry at me if we don't do it. Within 12 months, your energy prices will be cut in half. The plan will cut energy prices in half, or more than that.
And he's failed you, and you won't even wake up to that.
Let me know if this resonates with you, because I felt this one in my soul.
Is there any way in which your life has gotten better during this second Trump administration?
No, not at all. No, absolutely not. I have nothing.
I don't know how to answer that one. No, not at all.
You know, that's right. I don't even know how to handle that one when asked, is your life better during the Trump administration? What an absolute joke. Whose life is better? And I know somebody's going to be a MAGA chud's going to be in the comments saying, I've never had more money in my life. If you look at everything, everything is more expensive. We are in a foreign war. Nobody can afford housing. Nobody can afford groceries, gas, commodities. Everything is through the roof. Childcare, it doesn't matter. Name it. It is more expensive. Inflation continues to go up. And anybody who wants to say they're better under Donald Trump and this administration than they were before is because they're living out their racist fantasies or they're a billionaire.
Right, as promised, the very big news today and very disturbing news for the U.S. economy is inflation skyrocketed up to 3.8% in April 2026. This is the highest level since May 2023. So during the COVID pandemic and right after Russia attacked Ukraine, and gas prices shot up to where they're actually at right now. During that time, we had hyperinflation of almost 9%, a 0.6% increase. Energy prices are up 17.9%. Gasoline this month went up 28.4%. It is actually up 46% just in the last 3 months because of the Iran war. What's very scary about this is there is no end in sight. There are almost 2,000 ships sitting in the Middle East. They haven't moved in 9 weeks. If you want to know why everything has gone up and you thought you were crazy, you are not. It's only going to get worse. Will we have hyperinflation? Are we in the middle of stagflation? Are we in the middle of a recession? Hiring freeze certainly looks very bad.
Looks like all the ingredients for the MOTB to be ushered in.
About corporations, them going out of business, and them losing money. They're about you and your finances. Do the best that you can to not spend money. Budget your money ahead of time. Lay low at your job. If you can, build up your emergency fund. If you can, pay off debt.
Oh, Trump, you are my daddy. Yeah, I do anything to make you happy. Oh, Donald T, can't you see? Can't you say you belong with me in this ecstasy? Yeah.
You mean to tell me 4 grown-ass men sat around, looked at each other, wrote the lyrics to this little jam they have, and thought to themselves that they have a banger? Not to mention getting up in front of a crowd to perform this thing, and the scary part about it is that there were actual individuals singing along. What do y'all call yourselves? 4 biscuits on a plate of gravy? Man, let me stop with this hillbilly propaganda, because that is all this is propaganda. Individuals like this in our American society are far too many that are willing to idolize these politicians as if they are gods or Hollywood stars.
Yep.
This nonsense needs to stop, man. And a lot of us who don't do this need to correct this type of behavior. Because I would like to think in a normal world, out in the reality of things, is that the most of us are looking at each other, shaking each other's hands, getting to know each other, understanding what is going on in our community so that we can make things better, not only for ourselves, but our families. I know we have some trying times, but for crying out loud, we could do a lot better than this, man.
Felon 47 told you exactly how he feels about the American people. He was asked whether he cared about the financial pain Americans are experiencing. And his answer was simple. No, I don't care. Straight from his own mouth. He doesn't care if your bills are piling up. He doesn't care if your groceries are unaffordable. He doesn't care if your retirement account is taking a hit. He doesn't care if working families are struggling to stay afloat. Believe him when he tells you who he is. And that's the read.
I don't think about Americans' financial situations. I don't think about anybody, is what Trump just said to a reporter when he was asked if he feels motivated to end the excursion in Iran because his economy sucks so bad for everyday Americans. And Trump said, no, I don't even think about that, not even a little bit. But you know what he does think about pretty often is charging the taxpayers $1 billion for his new ballroom, which he lied about and pretended it was all coming from private donations. Oh, he also thinks about his new reflecting pool a lot, which is going to cost us all $13 million. Oh, and there was no bid for that contract. He just gave it to his pool boy who works on his National Golf Club in Virginia. And as soon as he gets that done, he's going to start working on the Arc de Trump, which is estimated to cost around $100 million in taxpayer money. And on top of that, he made over 50 posts to Truth Social in 1 hour last night. And that's because the leader of the Republican Party is mentally ill. He has no grasp on reality at all. He says prices are way down, they're way up. He says gas is way down, it's way up. So here we are, America, just trying to scrape by while our mentally ill president takes all of our taxpayer money to build himself statues. Oh, and did I mention that inflation just ticked up to 3.8, and when he took over for Biden, it was at 2.9? So he just sucks at everything. There's literally nothing that he's good at.
Trump doesn't care about you struggling financially. He doesn't care that the war with Iran is bearing a larger cost to Americans. He just doesn't factor that in.
These are just everyday people that are posting feeds.
This is the most dictator-like
thing. This is what they're really saying.
And this is going to get worse. As his filter collapses, he's going to say more things like this.
You know, for a very long time, I've been saying Trump doesn't give a damn about anyone but himself. And everybody said, oh, Drayton, you're being hyperbolic. I mean, come on, what a thing to say about the man. But what happens when he says it himself? Yeah, what happens when it's the words that come out of his mouth? You know, I don't think about Americans' financial situations in Iran negotiations. Why would I think about how Americans live? What do I care? I'm just the president. I think he forgets that he represents the United States of America, that all the people of the United States is who he represents. I don't think
as a whole, it's going down.
He understands that. Because saying that, you know, I don't even think about their financial situation. If they're broke, they're broke. I mean, my friends at Mar-a-Lago have lots of money, so that's all that's important. But the rest of you people, yeah, I don't think about your financial things, you know, your financial worries or your financial problems or your yeah, I don't think about it. He doesn't care, folks. He just doesn't care.
To what extent are Americans financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Credit card debt's at an all-time high because families are going into debt paying for household essentials like gas, food, toilet paper at an average of 22% interest. And Donald Trump is using the power of the presidency to make his family richer than they've ever been in history. Here are all the companies that the Trump family are invested in that have ties to the war in Iran
and Venezuela. Now, these three companies, Powers, Extend, and Unusual Machines, are in negotiations right now with the Gulf states to be the premier drone supplier in the Middle East. I'm talking attack drones, defense drones, drone AI, drone parts, drone fucking everything. And not only that, but they're getting Pentagon contracts. His family is making generational wealth off of this war.
All right, Trumpers, come and get me. Hey, listen, I'm sitting at Zaxby's right now, and there was a guy came out with a MAGA hat on it, and had Donald Trump's signature right here, and he was getting into his truck, and as he was walking by me, and he literally just walking by me, he said he was complaining about the gas prices and how expensive all those trucks up there was, and I'm like, your president did this. You voted for this man. Like, did you not think that shit wasn't going to go up? You didn't think the stuff wasn't going to be more expensive? I mean, do you not see what's going on? Do you not see how we're handling all this world, the economy, the stock market, how Donald Trump is looking after himself, the people that he's got up there? I mean, he's got J.D. Vance up here running around like a goofball. He's got Dr. Oz up there that can't even answer anything about this potential pandemic virus that they brought over here to the U.S. Why didn't he leave that shit out there? Why is America
not like that dude? Unlike that douche.
We send billions of dollars overseas. We send trillions of dollars to China. We bring viruses into this country to hurt our people. When the hell is somebody going to stand up for us and make trucks cheaper and food at the damn Zaxby's cheaper? When? It's never going to happen under this administration. It's never going to happen.
A lot of people are reaching a breaking point emotionally because people didn't vote for more stress, to feel poorer every month, or to struggle harder, while the politicians talk about foreign conflict more than the lives of ordinary Americans back at home. So when Trump says that he's not concerned about the financial situation back at home, people hear disconnection, They hear a billionaire president telling struggling families that their pain is not the priority. That's what's making people angry, because for ordinary Americans, this is real life. People are skipping meals so that they can make rent. Parents are quietly sacrificing meals so their kids can eat. Young adults are working full-time and still can't afford independence, Families are carrying debt just to survive basic living expenses. And while all this is happening, Washington is so obsessed with the foreign wars instead of the economic suffering happening inside American homes. People remember the promises that prices would come down on day one, that life would get easier, America first, no more to endless wars, But now it feels like everyday Americans are still losing. And the people are starting to have discussions where they are questioning whether a billionaire can truly understand.
So here it goes. So your leader has failed you, but you won't admit it because your pride is so high like the eagle. You won't admit your failure. It's your own failures that elected him to begin with. You see? You thought you could justify everything, right? Oh, well, if that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened, right? You justify the lynching and the killing of the Native Americans and the lynching and the killing of Negroes, right? And you're like, well, if that didn't happen, that wouldn't happen this way. Oh, we're not racist anymore. Bullshit, man. And it's coming home to roost, man. Because now you got a president in there that doesn't give a fuck about you. You goddamn hillbillies, right? You're in hillbilly hell, and you don't give a flying fuck about you. Farmers grow desperate as fertilizer and energy costs grow. Farmers across the Midwest are reported to be facing the worst agricultural downturn since the 1980s, as rising energy and fertilizer prices continue to bite due to the Iran war. Growing crisis caused by continuing increases in energy and fertilizer prices, shortages, disruptions to exhort markets, and also unfavorable weather. So, all combined, but he ain't too worried about you. He's not worried about you at all. No, he's making a lot of money on this, And the more territories he takes, he makes more money, right? Because, he's got Venezuela, he's going to take Cuba, he's going after Greenland, he's going after Canada, and he's just going to keep on upping taxes too. Oh, read my lips, no new taxes. Yeah, it kind of reminds you of Bush, but, just trumps everything, right? It's Trump shit. Please work remote. New York City braces for commuter chaos with ongoing LIRR strike. Long Island Railroad strike. Welcome to day 3 of the Long Island Railroad strike, which is set to cause commuter chaos this morning in the New York City area. As more than 3,500 workers across 5 unions walked off the job Saturday after contract talks with the MTA collapsed. So, this is all fast forward to Monday, right? LIRR service remains suspended due to the strike. Please work from home if you can if you travel today. Yeah, work from home. Pretty much. So here's a little bit of the protest going on.
All we want is for the MTA and Long Island Railroad to recognize all of the hard work that we put in on nights weekends, holidays, everything that we
Well,
miss with
remember,
our
your
children.
president
We
doesn't
work as
give a
hard as
shit about
anybody out
you.
there. And right now, we feel like they're taking advantage of us.
Our members have gone over 3 years without a raise. They've had
They don't care about you.
The economic impact.
He ain't
on New
worried
York
about
City
you
is
at all.
$61 million a day. That's what they chose when they walked away from the table. We had 5 rail unions that
All
stood
I can
together through
say is they
negotiations
don't
over
really
4
care
years
about
to get
us.
to this point.
The MTA could have been reasonable. Governor Hochul certainly has the ability to call on the MTA. To
She doesn't give a shit about you. They're all in it for themselves.
Absent. The cost of living, it's out of control.
I had to take my daughter out of daycare because I can't afford the daycare for 2 kids. It's $2,700 a month for 2 days a week for 2 kids.
We had 6 arbitrators rule in our favor that said the pay wasn't right, wasn't fair.
We just want a fair wage. We're not asking for a kitchen sink here.
I want to say to our riding commuters that we're sorry it has come to this, but I want to let you know we have done everything in our power. We stayed here for the last 2 days, camped out at their headquarters to try and get fair wages.
Contract negotiations have been nothing but regressive. We're not going to take it. We're done.
We go to work every day caring about what we do and about the ridership. We care.
The commuters are our friends, our family, our neighbors.
I can guarantee you the riding public does not have a neighbor like Jan Oliver. Jan Oliver does not live in a working class neighborhood because he makes enough money to afford to be out of it.
What's his salary?
400 and something thousand. And I know it's increased exponentially every year.
We're going to show them what strength and solidarity is all about.
As long as it takes. This is an open-ended strike.
We're going to be out here as long as it takes till we get fair wages and fair contracts for our members.
Union!
So, that doesn't seem to have any end in sight, right? So, like everything else, so. But you already seen a lot of this during even the Reagan administration, which, you know, under Trump, has just trumped everything up, right? Because he's the final card, the final Trump card. And, of course, King Charles has announced digital IDs are coming, as Clayton Morris gets into here. So, all roads lead to the MOTB, where you will not be able to buy or sell. You're not going to be able to do anything. And see, this is part of a precursor to that, right? Digital ID, well, over here, you can't really, you know, they have some restrictions for not having real ID, but if they turned it into something like this, and they could, you know, because, you know, they're clamping down on everything, well, we're going to see a lot, you know, but let's get into this, you know, because King Charles has really set up the police state in the UK.
Well, the United Kingdom's total clampdown on freedoms is almost complete with the rollout of the digital ID. Something very important just happened in the UK, and of course it barely got any attention in the mainstream media, totally ignored. Of course, if you go to any of the major newspapers, the BBC, MSNBC, CNN, anywhere, you're not going to see it. During the King's speech, King Charles read out the government's new legislative agenda, which included this digital ID nugget. Listen.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernise how citizens interact with public services.
Okay, so in order to interact with public services, you need a digital ID. I guess your public services are unavailable to you if you don't take this digital ID. Interesting. So they're moving forward with this digital access to services bill, creating the legal framework for this digital ID. UK officials presenting it as voluntary, of course, convenient and secure. It's all about your safety. But critics, of course, warn that this architecture is this is a piece of a much larger control system. Joining us now is Jim Ferguson. He's been warning about exactly this, digital ID, state surveillance, and what happens when governments begin tying basic public services to centralized digital identity. He's an independent commentator, founder of Freedom Train International. Jim, always great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Your response to the King's message, I mean, hearing this come out of the King's mouth, it really struck a nerve.
Yeah, it did as well. Wonderful to be on with you guys again. But yeah, this is something that has certainly caught a lot of people's attention. I reported on this earlier on today, and it's started to go viral. So this is where the King has said that he is expecting his ministers, his government, to introduce and push forward with the digital ID. So the question is not if digital ID is coming, it certainly is. The real question is how far is it going to go?
That is the big question. How far will this go? And you have petitions signed by millions of people across the UK. The do not introduce digital ID cards. This was even closed on January 9th. Take a look at your screen here. We demand that the UK government immediately commits to not introducing a digital ID card. And millions of people signed this, but they're not listening to those people at all. What were their concerns?
Well, their concerns are about intrusion, a loss of privacy, a loss of autonomy, because this is going to affect taxation, it's going to affect medical records, it's going to affect everyday life. As soon as they get this through, everything changes. And of course, let's not forget about CBDC, central bank digital currencies, which which are going to be a close second coming in after the digital ID legislation gets through. But right now, the UK government is an absolute freefall. We are witnessing a Prime Minister who is effectively shutting himself away in number 10, won't talk to anyone, because the knives are out by members of his own party. We've seen 4 cabinet ministers resign. And he is now looking very much like a dead man walking. But the biggest problem, Clayton, is that whoever takes up the reins from him is going to be just as bad, if not worse. So digital ID is coming. People need to be prepared for that. They need to understand exactly what that means. But it's major loss of privacy, and it gives the unaccounted bureaucrats and the elites absolute control and power over everyday citizens, and that's far too much power to be handed over lightly. So I think there's a lot of concerns sparked by the King's address today.
There are people with power, people like yourself, who have been outspoken against this, people like Nigel Farage, the leader of the Reform UK. He came out today and delivered this message saying, absolutely, we do not support this. Take a listen.
So the Prime Minister says we must have digital ID. That's the way we'll stop illegal immigration. Well, think about it. Germany has ID cards, strict ID and checks. It's made no difference at all in Germany, and nor will it here. All the digital ID will be is a means of controlling the population, of telling us what we can and can't do, of fining the innocent. And didn't we see it all when we had the pandemic, when we had to have vaccine ID to travel, to do various things? Did that stop the COVID pandemic spreading? Did it hell? All it did was put cost and inconvenience on everybody else. I also worry about massive data banks being held by the government, being hacked by foreign governments, by private companies, by criminals. I do not see a single benefit to the government having digital ID other than them controlling what we do, what we spend, and where we go. And we, in Reform, are wholly opposed to it in every single way.
So there you have it, though. All the ingredients leading towards an MOTB, right? You know, so you already got it in place over there in the UK, because eventually all roads are leading towards it, but you're getting down to the lockdowns, you know, where it's not a physical lockdown, but you can't really do anything unless you agree to the system. And that's what they're doing, you know. But here we go. U.S. officials work on creating pretext to attack Cuba. U.S. officials working to create pretext for potential war against Cuba, as President Trump made clear that the island nation is administration's crosshairs. Reports said the U.S. may indict him over the downing of a plane belonging to a Cuban exile organization in 1996, which killed 4 people. Potential indictment comes as President Trump is overseeing a bombing campaign against alleged drug running boats. Here we go again. You know, narco-terrorists. If the U.S. indicts Castro, the administration could follow a similar playbook as it did with the attack against Venezuela, which carried out the abduction of Venezuelan President Maduro. Report acknowledged that drone claims could be used as a pretext for U.S. military action, said Cuba has been discussing the possibility of using drones to attack the base at Guantanamo Bay, U.S. military vessels, and possibly Key West, Florida, 90 miles north of Havana. So they're going to war. President Trump repeated the threatened war against Cuba, saying back in March that he may have the honor of taking Cuba. The U.S. and Cuba have engaged in talks which included a visit from the CIA Director Ratcliffe. You can't trust the CIA, you can't trust the U.S. But it's unclear what sort of agreement his administration would accept, as fucking Terry Rubio, who is leading the policy, has made clear he wants regime change, so it doesn't matter. They want a regime change anyways. And here we go, more posturing over in China, you know, that you do something about Iran to open the strait, you know, or we're going to invade, you know, we're going to take Taiwan and not let you have it back. Typhoon launch of Tomahawk missile is worst provocation by the U.S. against China. The United States first firing its Philippines-based Typhoon missile launcher last week marked the worst provocation in years in the South China Sea, and Beijing should ramp up air defense and stealth strike drones in response, according to Chinese military observers. So basically they decided to test their missiles in South China Seas. So here we go, they're trying to, as you say, wave their dicks at them. So yeah, we'll see who gets their balls cut off. But, you know, Trump, you know, he's the king of Babylon, has betrayed everyone who ever built him up. And Alex Jones recently talked about that on another show of Mario Nawfal. So here it is. So I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he interviewed Alex Jones just about how you're an idiot if you ask any question, or you're just a dumb person. But you're only questioning what he actually has said out loud and his actions. You're questioning his actions, right? So pretty much so. Trump doesn't care about anybody, but these people will follow him to the lake of fire, which is what America is about to become. You see, you got a king that's going to lead you straight to hell. And it's putting you through hell. Yeah, you got a fierce king and cruel lord over you, better known as Nero 47, as we call him.
He obviously supported Trump as the person that could be fighting the establishment early on. Yeah, here we are. Do you ever feel like it's like just kind of, I wouldn't say giving up, but kind of lost faith in the system, if you know what I mean? Because a lot of people have felt this one really hit them hard, because I thought this is the time finally they can break through the unelected officials that call the shots behind the scenes that we keep talking about in that mystique way, and that we want to try to get rid of so we can elect our own officials. Americans can elect the officials that make the decisions that the American people want to see. And then they get this, what we're seeing right now. Have you gone through a process like this?
Obviously, with anybody, you've got mixed feelings and different levels of cold analysis and emotion and nostalgia and what you'd like to be versus what is. But I knew that Trump was anti-establishment, and he was either trying to take over the establishment or he really loved America like he said and wanted to turn it around. But I knew regardless, because I really wasn't naive even 10 years ago when I first endorsed him, about putting all my hopes in him or trusting him. Like I said like 10 years ago, I said he has a spirit about him, like he's got the Holy Spirit, but also the devil. He kind of flickers in and out. And I've said that on here. Look at Alex Jones says Trump may be the Antichrist so many times, even before the betrayal. He got a devilish look to him, but also does a lot of good things. His aura, I don't actually see an aura, but use that as an analogy, kind of goes red to blue. It's like flashing, back and forth, good, bad. And so I saw him as a disruptive force. All these really bad forces were coming after him. They were upset. He had a lot of good policies. He tried to do a lot of policies up front, got some better Supreme Court justices in, but was naive. He even admitted that, didn't know how stuff worked. And then as he learned how things worked, being persecuted for the 4 years he was out of office, I think by necessity, I'm not defending his decision, he joined with some of the big deep swamp elements and decided to join with the military-industrial complex that's just as pro-war as the Israelis and the Israelis. And so people ask, you feel like Tucker's apologized for backing Trump the last 10 years? It was way better than the other guys who were totally open war and the rest of it. No, Trump's gone sideways now, and so now we're opposing him. So I think Tucker's wrong to apologize. So I've not been disillusioned by Trump going sideways because I figured that could happen any time. What I have been disillusioned by is how many Trump supporters, it's still a minority, maybe 30-40%. I thought the left was cult-like, following lots of their leaders. As soon as you go, hey, Trump promised not to attack Iran. Hey, Trump promised not to do this. He promised to ban glyphosate. Now he's giving protections. And they're like, you are a Qatari agent. You are an Iranian agent. You're scum. And they talk Democrat talking points back. I'm glad you're getting shut down. I'm glad this and that happened. And just to see them shift into mindless cult mode and then try to back Trump when he is then saying, listen to Mark Levin, the never-Trumper, and listen to Lindsey Graham, the never-Trumper, and listen to all my enemies. And you're not real Trump. You're excommunicated. And these people that are open enemies, they are. Well, I don't want to be your cool kid, Jeffrey Epstein class table. I was never MAGA. Make America great again. That sounds great. How about make America free again? How about make America virtuous again? And from that, comes the greatness. So I was never MAGA. I like them to make it great again, but I'm all about 1776. So when Trump's like, you're not MAGA, well, you bet, because I'm not whatever you change with the wind and say it is. I have my integrity, and you wrote in on that, myself and the other populists. So, but at the same time, to watch him, I agree with you. I don't think he has dementia yet. I think he is exhausted, sometimes overworked. I was much needed at 79, I almost said he had to be a vegetable. But a month ago, I don't care about Medicare and Medicaid or child care. We're a war economy. That's all that matters. That's quote. And then he said, a few days ago, he said, I don't even think about Americans' personal financial problems. All I think about is war. And then he said last night on Hannity, he said, I'm not worried about America. I'm worried about Israel and all the other countries. Because he knows now he doesn't have to be reelected. And maybe he was a nasty, mean, evil pimp the whole time. And now he doesn't need us, we're an old hooker where he just breaks our jaw and, pumps a few rounds into us and throws us in the river. Maybe he is just way more evil. Maybe I was naive. Maybe he is horrible. Because he's treating us like some hooker that turned tricks for 10 years for him and let guys put cigarettes out on us and took 15 clients a day. We got all these diseases. We're beat up and rode hard, put away wet. And then now he just walks us out of the river, just punches us in the face, says, I hate you, breaks our jaw, pulls out a revolver, pumps rounds into us, and kicks our dead body in the river. Because that's how it feels. He's like, I'm not America first. I don't care about poor Americans. I don't care about economic plight. All I care about is Israel. That sounds like he's demonically possessed to me. But then I want to still support some of the good things he's doing in Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. But when you ask the question, really the stuff he's been saying, Mario, this is insane stuff. You want to lose the midterms? They're already running ads with, I don't worry about the average American's financial problems. I don't have time for that. I don't worry about your Medicare and Medicaid, your child care. I got Israel to take care of. You can composite those three clips together. He says that word for word.
Yeah. But
also Trump speaks his mind, and sometimes when you speak everything on your mind, you tend to misspeak accidentally. So is it possible that he just misspoke? And also, is it possible that the decisions that he's made have disillusioned a lot of people, including myself? Is there also the possibility, goes back to my original question, that maybe he had, in a way, had no choice? Again, that's a person that could be living in paranoia.
Oh, you mean he has handlers?
That was almost assassinated on more than one occasion. Is that also a possibility?
Tucker knows Trump 100 times better than me, and people don't know Tucker's dialed into everybody. That guy's a workhorse. He knows everybody. He says Trump is held hostage by Netanyahu with blackmail. And I think the evidence is overwhelming there. So what exactly it is or what it is, and I'm not trying to give Trump a pass. I'm just saying, even if he's held hostage by them, why does he have to rub it into his oldest supporters? Not that I emotionally am a scorned woman and I can't take it. No, I'm like, why does he make statements that will hurt him and hurt the Republican Party? I mean, if I was sitting around like John Podesta at a war game, if we could make Trump say anything we want, what would it be? Say he doesn't care about any of his constituents' financial situation and only Israel matters. Say he doesn't care about Medicare and Medicaid. I mean, it's like...
Say criticize the Pope.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly. He's doing everything he can, and I agree he's not stupid. And so if you answer my question, Marvin, answer your question yourself. I don't know. I just know that all I do is read news 18 hours a day. And the old Trump, the media, like, he's lying about this. He said that. I said the quote wasn't true. They say he was lying about something. I check it. It would be generally true or true. A few times he got it wrong, but very high record of accuracy. Very straight shooter. It's like there was a brain transplant 6 months in to 2025.
Or he just showed who he truly was. The gloves are off now. See, that's the whole thing, is that, yeah, he's compromised and all that, but in his own way. Maybe he was compromised to give you the illusion back in 2016, give you the illusion they cared about America, etc. Maybe who he is now is who he always was before. You know, you see, you got it reversed. He was putting on a show. You know, they had an older show of his called The Apprentice. You know, and, you know, ultimately is to see who's going to go to work for him and who he was going to fire. You know, because ultimately he was the kingpin, right? Well, I think that what you're seeing now is who he always was. Amalek, a small hat. Because you've seen him wear the small hat, and he does everything the Israeli state wants. The Israeli state wants a war in the Levant because they want to control, better known as the Greater Israel Project, and that's what it's all about. And when you get into the Gaza, the new Gaza plan, which he broke in the so-called peace deal, look at how much money he's getting out of it. That's the true Trump. You know, and these people can't admit it. They can't admit it. They think that, oh, you know, well, maybe he's compromised, maybe he's this and that. No, he's showing you who he always was to begin with. You know, but again, also, it doesn't matter. You know, when you look at the whole democracy system, it says he's in the second term and all that, he can't run again. And you got to go back to the original 2016 that didn't want Trump on the Republican side. Remember that? Remember that they say, well, maybe he could run as an independent and all that. The Republican Party wanted to run Jeb Bush, if you recall correctly. So there's that too. So, well, why not? Why not just totally make fun of the Republican Party and just totally demonize and destroy the Republican Party? You see, Trump is in the place he's in for a reason. Most of all, that Yahweh put him there. You see? He is this fierce king and cruel lord that he put there to punish Egypt, to smite Egypt once again, as before. Trump threatens to resume war against Iran, announce a new body to manage Hormuz. So, you know, you've had tit for tats going on between United Arab Emirates and Iran and a few other things going on. He's tried to draw United Arab Emirates into this to also help them try to take the islands. U.S. President Trump issued fresh warning to Iran on Sunday, saying it had to move quickly toward a peace deal. There won't be anything left of them. Washington, locked in conflict with Tehran since U.S. and Israeli terrorists launched major attacks against the Islamic Republic beginning 28th of February. For Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast, or there won't be anything left of them, Trump wrote on Truth social media, so basically ramping up the threats. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates reported intercepting a handful of drones overnight. One of the drones in the United Arab Emirates had struck United Arab Emirates' Bakhar nuclear plant, which sparked a fire. Furthermore, Israeli state continued strikes against Gaza and southern Lebanon and expanding its grip on southern Syria. Yeah, and I think that it's Israeli state just firing at United Arab Emirates just to blame Iran. U.S. Israeli claim of protecting energy markets a grand lie to justify war of choice. And this is coming from Iran's leader. Iran Foreign Ministry spokesman says the U.S. and Israeli regime are fabricating a new grand lie to justify their illegal war of choice against the Islamic Republic. Through the unprovoked military aggression against Iran, he added, D.C. and Tel Aviv deliberately injected insecurity into vital energy routes and are now accusing Tehran of destabilization to put into practice Goebbels' infamous dictum, accuse others of what you are actually doing. This is their familiar, cynical playbook. Manufacture crisis and war, then escalate further under the noble banner of restoring stability and defending peace. The Iranian spokesman emphasized, yep, this is exactly, and he's calling out correctly. Drone strike hits Gulf nuclear power plant. So here it is, you know, and they're trying to say that Iran did it. A drone strike hits the perimeter of a nuclear power plant in the United Arab Emirates, causing fire, raising fears of renewed war between the U.S. and Iran. President Trump commented on his latest peace proposal from Iran, which he said did not go far enough into its nuclear. No, it's because they wanted reparations for the attack, and they wanted an end to the war. At present, no one claimed responsibility for the attack. In recent days, the United Arab Emirates has accused Iran of launching a number of missile and drone attacks against it, but they're not saying Saudi Arabia is doing it either, which they're actually going to war with them, but they really just want to get everybody back to the war with Iran. The Israeli state needs them to go to war with Iran, you know. As tensions remain high over the U.S. blockade of the vital strait through which 20% of the world's oil and gas exports normally pass. The Barkha power plant was constructed with the help of engineers from South Korea at a cost of $20 billion, which went online in 2020. It's the only nuclear plant in the Arab world, provides a full quarter of the energy needs of the United Arab Emirates. Uranium for the facility is not domestically enriched, but bought from abroad as part of a deal struck with the U.S. So, well, like everything else though, you know, false flags, yeah, we said to expect them. U.S. officials want United Arab Emirates to seize Iranian islands, so there it is. This is what their big plan is, to get United Arab Emirates to help, because again, their munitions are exhausted. You know, they had to find a way to get Iran to, you know, back down and let and allow a ceasefire, which of course Iran wants an end to the war, which they'll never be, because hey, they're going after Turkey next. As soon as they're done with Iran, they're going after Turkey. You're hearing it from both Bennett and King Bibi. The island in question is Lavan, one of Iran's key offshore oil export centers. See, it's all about the oil. And tanker loading infrastructure connected to several major crude fields. It also sits atop a large natural gas reserve. Some in the circle, U.S. President Trump suggested the United Arab Emirates should take the island, the outlet wrote on Saturday. Go take him. It would be United Arab Emirates boots on the ground instead of U.S., it's cited a former senior Trump security official as saying. So it's telling them to go take it. Yeah, I remember the last time when somebody told them to go take it. And guess what? Because of the invasion of Kuwait, Saddam Hussein, who was an ally of the U.S., well, the next thing you know, they went to war with Saddam Hussein over taking Kuwait, which they told him to do it. They set him up. You know, you remember Desert Storm? Well, they set Saddam up. You know, and you had the war of Iraq. You know, and that was the beginning of taking down Iraq and eventually taking it over in 2003. And ever since then, they've gotten closer and closer to Iran. You know, and you already know all the recent history. You know, there were no weapons of mass destruction because those were already destroyed, and most of them were used against Iran in the original 8-year war. Assassination of Al-Qassam top commander during truce proves Israeli treachery. Yeah, because they recently killed the commander of Hezbollah. So, Iran's parliamentary speaker strongly condemned the assassination of Al-Qassam Brigade's top commander by Israeli state when a ceasefire was in effect in Gaza. This killing is a clear demonstration of the regime's treachery. once again, the hands of the criminal Zionist regime were stained with the blood of a great and unsung Mujahideen said. So, like everything else, so, you know, of course they do that during times of peace. They continue their attacks, so there is no ceasefire. And, of course, you got Barach, who says, Syria now laboratory for new regional alignment of diplomacy, says the U.S. envoy. You know, I mean, look at this fucking douchebag, man. What a piece of shit. You know, well, like everything else, though, this is a very special Al-Qaeda Syria. You know, it's not the Syria under the Syrian Arab Army anymore. Now it's the, you know, Syrian army, which is now run by ISIS. U.S. Special Envoy Barach said on Sunday that Syria is now a laboratory for new regional alignment of diplomacy, as in ISIS running everything. You got ISIS co-running shit. They just don't call it ISIS now. They call it Hayat al-Sham. They call it the government of Syria. The meeting took place at the People's Palace in Damascus. Syrian Arab News Agency reported the two sides discussed developments in Syria and the region and ways to enhance the economic cooperation between the two countries, meaning that, oh, okay, well, let us build some bases there. Let's attack Iran from there. And while we're at it, help us fight Turkey. Yeah, that's what they really want. Because the Israeli state says that you need to go to war. We need to get you to war with Turkey. You know, so they got to get people to support that too. You know, because that's what they want to do after Iran. But so, you know, just ways of getting them to war. So, pretty much we're at the end, you know, where, you know, the signs of thy coming, you know, and what would be leading to that. And as Yahushai, and this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, as Yahushai was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, tell us, they said, when this will happen, and what will be the sign of your coming, and the end of the age, the end of Esau Edom. Yahushai answered, watch out that no one deceives you, for many shall come in my name, claiming, I am the Messiah, meaning that I am your leader. I am General Yohana. I am, you know, I'm giving you examples. I am, you know, there's no other but General Yohana. You remember him saying that. And then, of course, you know, Bishop Nate. You know, everybody must follow Bishop Nate, etc. And will deceive many. You will hear of wars, rumors of wars. But see to it that you are not alarmed. Yeah, almost everything I was reading and watching was all rumors of wars. And then you got a conceited, narcissist president, the king of Babylon, right? Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. So, in other words, there's going to be more. There's more coming. Nation will rise against nation. I mean, civil uprisings. And kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. So, you know, it's going to happen worldwide, you know, and that is because of the system being shut down. And there's going to be no oil by July 4th. Now, isn't that interesting? July 4, isn't that the 250th year of Babylon the Great? And all empires come to an end in 250 years? Well, that would be the end of the old empire, ushering in the new world order where everyone must be chipped. Think about that, though. That's what, that'll be the beginning of that new world order. Goes in the 7th and is part of the 8th. Think about that, you know. So that's exactly it. That America will now be merged into a global, you know, new world order, meaning that you know, where a United Nations will rule over the people of the earth. You know, like George Bush told you, you know, we have a chance to forge a new world order. So that's what's coming after the 4th of July. It's very interesting that they're saying that that's when they run out of fuel, because fuel has been king. That's the petrodollar. So it'll be handed over to the new system where everything will be digital, a stable coin, a digital dollar. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. You will be hated by all nations because of me. You know, that is for following Yahushai, you know, and having the names Yahweh, Yahushai. And at that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. You know, so that's coming. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. You know, they're everywhere. So, you know, great deception, a time of deception. And what was it that this was called? It's very interesting. It was a A year of sellouts? Yeah. Yeah, the year of sellouts, you know, and false prophets. I mean, that's something close to that. That's what Apostle Tahar coined the year as. You know, that you're going to have, apostasy, the year of apostasy, and of great sellouts. Yeah, that's the year. This is the year of that. So, everything that Yahushua said would happen before his return. So hopefully this has been edifying. Got one more here before he closes out, and this is going into, another brother put it out, the Samson option. Nuclear war, World War III. Shalom, Bracha Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wal Aval Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah elect. Shalom.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is the book of Psalms chapter 28 and verse 3, and it reads, Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to the neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. Verse 4, Give them according to their deeds and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them after the work of their hands. Render to them their desert. NLT. Do not drag me away with the wicked, with those who do evil, those who speak friendly words to their neighbors while planning evil in their hearts. Give them the punishment they so richly deserve. Measure it out in portion to their wickedness. Pay them back for all their evil deeds. Give them a taste of what they have done to others. If we go down, we're taking you with us. Israel's last resort in a nuclear crisis. The Samson option explained.
Israel has hit Iran's nuclear sites. Iran has struck back, targeting Israeli cities and hitting Soraka Medical Center in Beersheba. The death toll stands at 639 in Iran and 24 in Israel, with hundreds injured. Amid rising tensions, global focus is shifting to a chilling term: the Samson option.
The Samson option refers to Israel's unofficial doctrine of massive nuclear retaliation in the event of existential threat to the state. The term draws from the biblical story of Samson, who destroyed the Philistine temple, killing himself and his enemies in the final act of vengeance. In strategic term, it implies that if Israel faces annihilation, it will unleash its nuclear arsenal onto its enemies, even at the cost of self-destruction.
Though Israel has never officially confirmed possessing nuclear weapons, it maintains a policy of minut, Hebrew for deliberate ambiguity. Foreign analysts estimate Israel holds between 80 to 400 nuclear warheads, deliverable by Jericho missiles, F-15, F-35 aircraft, and Donald-class submarines. The whole idea is to deter enemies by saying, if we go down, we're taking you with us. Israel's nuclear journey began in the 1950s, driven by the trauma of Holocaust and the belief that state survival required ultimate deterrence. Under Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, Israel, with covert assistance from France and Norway, built the Dimona nuclear facility in the Negev desert. By 1967 Six-Day War, Israel is believed to have assembled its first nuclear weapon. The doctrine of Samson option gained public attention through Seymour Hershey's 1991 book with the same name, and the 1986 revelations of Mordechai Vanunu, a former technician at Dimona, who leaked photos and technical data to the British press. Over the decade, Israeli leaders like Moshe Dayan, Ariel Sharon, and Shimon Peres have hinted at the existence of such a doctrine, reinforcing its role as a last resort deterrent. The ongoing war with Iran has raised fresh concerns that Israel might use the Samson option, its nuclear backup plan, if pushed to the edge. Israel's attacks on Iran's nuclear and military sites have triggered heavy missile retaliation, some even hitting civilian areas. At the same time, Hezbollah is active in the north, and Houthis are posing threat in the Red Sea, putting Israel in danger of fighting on multiple fronts at once. If Iran were to launch a massive casualty strike, especially one involving chemical or radiological weapons, analysts warn that Israel could invoke the Samson option. The IDF has already claimed air superiority over Tehran, and Israeli officials have not ruled out targeting Iran's supreme leader. If Israel were to activate the Samson option, the consequences would be catastrophic. Loss of life and infrastructure. A nuclear exchange could result in hundreds of thousands of deaths across Iran and neighboring countries. Major cities like Tehran, Ifshan, and Mashhad could be obliterated. Fallout could affect Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and even parts of India and Central Asia. Environmental collapse. Nuclear strikes on Iran's reactor and enrichment sites could trigger radiological contamination across the region. IAEA has already confirmed contamination at Natanz following conventional Israeli strikes. Global economic shock. Oil prices could skyrocket. The Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of global oil passes, would likely be closed. Global markets would plunge and supply chains would be paralyzed. Geopolitical fallout. A nuclear strike would shatter the non-proliferation treaty framework. Other regional powers like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey might pursue nuclear weapons. Russia and China could intervene diplomatically or militarily. The US would face immense pressure to either jump into the war or against the move. Humanitarian crisis. Millions of refugees would flee Iran, overwhelming neighboring countries. International aid agencies would struggle to respond amid radiation zones and collapse infrastructure.
As the Israel-Iran war escalates, the world must reckon the terrifying possibility that nuclear deterrence could turn into nuclear devastation. The doctrine's very existence is meant to prevent such a scenario. But in a region where ideology trumps over diplomacy, the line between devastation and deterrence go dangerously thin. There you go. It's going to happen. All right? The Samson option, the last resort. Okay? And we're going to explain in this video why we're even closer of this happening, right? That's the point I want to make. Okay, this is Isaiah 9. In verse 5, it says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Okay, so this is how this world is going to go out on this side, man. Through nuclear devastation. Okay, Isaiah 34. Okay, Isaiah 34 and verse 2. And it reads, "For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, is upon all nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter." Verse 3. "Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood." So like we saw in the video, it talked about once they unleashed the Samson option, okay, it was going to cause total devastation in the so-called Middle East. Okay? It says, reading on here, it says verse 4, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth from the vine, and as the falling fig from the fig tree." All right, going into that mushroom cloud, all right, from that nuclear destruction. So I wanted to get into here, like I was saying. All right, again, we're going to make the point of why they're going to use that Samson option, man. Okay, as we've been breaking out, the whole world is waking up and coming against these people. All right, so they don't really have a choice. This is how you know that the Samson option will be used, and we're very close of this thing happening. All right, so let's build up to it. Here we go.
So we now have some new global polling on how residents of the world feel about various countries. Let's put this up on the screen. You will not be surprised, I think, viewers of the show, to learn that the most hated country in the entire world, beating out North Korea, actually by a pretty hefty margin here, is the nation state of Israel. Although is it even a nation state when it doesn't really seem to have borders? It continually expands and attacks whoever they want, whenever they want. In any case, they are the most hated national entity in the world. North Korea, Afghanistan, Iran, and then we are just narrowly by 1 point there, liked better than Iran. Our standing has apparently plummeted quite significantly in the democracy perception index. And, you know, I don't know all the methodology, Sagar, of this polling, but it does not surprise me whatsoever that Israel is not exactly held in high regard. When you look at the way that they act like crybullies in the world, when you look at the way that they attack all of their neighbors routinely, when you consider the fact that not just us, but the entire globe has watched the barbarism in their timelines of Israel committing a genocide and bragging about it and celebrating it. So, you know, the country that we hold out as our great ally and most moral army in the world and only democracy in the Middle East, blah, 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 turns out they have the lowest global perception of literally any place on the planet.
Yeah, you know, it's actually... Yeah, there you go, Obadiah. Right? Obadiah 1:1, the vision of Obadiah, the say of the Lord power concerning Edom. "We have heard a rumor from the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle." Verse 2, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised." Right? NLT, the Lord says to Edom, "I will cut you down to size among the nations, you will be greatly despised." Right? They can't get away from it, man. Okay?
It's interesting when you pair this with how Americans perceive other countries in the world. So I forgot to add this in, but I will send it along so we can put it in post. When you ask Americans how the influence of other countries is growing, and this fits very much with the theme of our show now, number one is China, and this was a poll just taken a few days ago, and number two is Israel, actually. So who is getting stronger? The percent of American adults who say each country is getting stronger. China, 62%, Israel, 45%, Russia, 34%, US, 34%. So the US is actually number 4. So it's not really just the globe. I think it's that other countries are intuiting who has the upper hand in geopolitics. And what's actually fascinating to me is that Americans themselves are actually seeing through the own propaganda of their own media. Now, in many countries, India, for example, they have a vibrant, thriving press. They will talk all day long about the declining influence of the United States, about how India stands alone, about how, you know, they can assess both with Israel, with Russia, with the US, they can look at things, you know, pretty easily. But when you look at other Asian countries, especially the more allied countries, they're usually pretty good. They're pretty good, often, about not showing in their media, let's say, something that's so detrimental that, you know, to the United States. With Israel, they didn't ever particularly care. But we've already paired this now with not only a lot of the outrage over how they conduct themselves in Gaza, but whenever this Iran war happened, they also were like, wow, now their belligerence is directly affecting us. And I think when you pair those two things together, with the United States, with Israel, I mean, even with the US, let's say with our operation in Venezuela, one of the reasons I so opposed it was that obviously, you know, between this and the Iran war, North Korea is never ever giving up their nuclear weapons. They probably weren't ever before that, but when you fly into another nation and capture their head of state because he doesn't have a nuke, and then you also launch a preemptive war to prevent another country from getting a nuke, and you can't even do that, you've erased, you know, U.S. deterrence to any country which you're trying to do diplomacy with, probably for like the next 20 years. Well, yeah. You also, I mean, just imagine the outrage in any neutral or even quasi-allied country. They're like, wait, they did that to them. They could do this to us. And so that level of hatred, I mean, it's probably akin to the Iraq War. I remember I traveled a lot during the Iraq War. I was a teenager living abroad.
Yeah, real quick, the hatred is great, man. All right, I was thinking about, Cain, all right, because these devils, you know, the descendants of Cain, right, and what happened? All right, Cain would be a fugitive, a vagabond, right? Let me get that real quick, man. People are ready to slay him. It's all spiritual, right? Genesis, so we'll make a point on that. Genesis 4 and 14. I'll start at 13, right? This is Genesis chapter 4, verse 13. It says, And Cain said unto the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. All right, because the Most High, okay, wasn't dealing with Cain. All right, he was rejected. Okay, it says, and from thy face shall I be hid, and thou shalt be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And this is what we have now. Okay, NLT, you have been banished from me. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me. And this is the spirit that's in the earth now. Okay, people want to take vengeance. Okay, again, these small hats, all right, these Edomites are the most hated people on earth, right? The most hated country on earth. Okay, so that spirit of vengeance, that spirit of anger is amongst all these nations, man. This is why we're at the brink of nuclear war. Okay, and again, tying it back to the point of that Samson option being the last resort, they're going to use it. All right, if we go down, we're taking everybody with us. All right, so we see how that's going to play out.
I mean, I don't particularly care all that much what like a Belgian thinks of the United States, but suffice it to say, it was not a lot. You know, it was not very well received, the Iraq War. And it wasn't just them; it was like everybody. Like wherever you went, people were really mad. And when you add Israel in on top of this, and then the alliance, you know, bipartisan alliance, really between Biden and between Trump over these last few years, people really have a negative view. I also think in Europe, it's not just Israel; it's also probably Ukraine. If I had to guess, obviously they're a lot more attached to the war in Ukraine than a lot of Americans are. And for them, you know, they have these very antiquated, idealized view of NATO. But for them, that's also a wake-up call. The fact is that, you know, Russia is going to have at least a portion of Ukraine. So I think you just put all these things together, from Asia to Europe and across the world, the way they're feeling about Israel, the way they're feeling about the United States, and the assessment of who's getting stronger and having the upper hand. It all points in a very bad direction for American primacy, if that's something you ever care about. And then
Yeah, both America and tiny top land, right? Job 18. Okay? Job 18 and 16. Right? I'll start at 15. Job 18:15. It shall dwell in his tabernacle because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. All right? Nuclear destruction. His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. Right? The Lord's going to get rid of his line. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. Right? Because this is the last of him. Right? He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Right? So again, that's the world, you know, that vengeance that the people have against these people, these Edomites, both America and small head land. All right? Now they're standing up. They want payback. They want blood. Okay? And shall be chased out of the world. He should neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Again, the Lord's going to cut his line off. Right? NLT, they will have neither children nor grandchildren, nor any survivor in the place where they live. Ooh, man. You see? Verse 20, that they come after him, that they that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they went before were frightened. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not Yahweh Shemel Shai. So we're approaching his end quickly, man. Okay? As the Lord said, he's going to get rid of his line, his branch should be cut off. Right? Let me add some more into that real quick. Back in Obadiah, let's go back there. Right? Obadiah 1 and 18. Okay? They know what's coming, man. Right? Obadiah 1 and 18, the house of Jacob should be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. All right? Your house is your bloodline, man. And the house of Esau for stubble, and they should kindle a fire in them and devour them. And it says, and there should not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have spoken it. Okay? You understand, the whole world is fed up. You see? Psalm 21 and 10. All right, Psalms 21 and 10, and it reads, it says, their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. NLT, you will wipe their children from the face of the earth. They will never have descendants, right? This is what's getting ready to happen to the Edomites, man. The whole world is preparing for war, man, to bring an end to these people. All right, everything is all the spirit.
You did. Go ahead.
How far? So this fast.
Say it's also, I mean, just think of ourselves
of Ukraine. So I think you just put all these things together, from Asia to Europe and across the world, the way they're feeling about Israel, the way they're feeling about the United States, and the assessment of who's getting stronger and having the upper hand. It all points in a very bad direction for American primacy. If that's something
yep, let the weak say we are strong.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's also, I mean, just think of our self-conception as always like the good guys in the world, you know, and then you look at this and you're like, you're ranked the same as Iran, congratulations. And Iran supposedly, you know, in our conception, on the axis of evil, et cetera, et cetera. And I suspect that most of this polling was done before the Iran war. I'm going to make a prediction here that the view of Iran in the world is going to surge because they've come off looking much more like the reasonable party in this war. I mean, they were the ones who were attacked. They were not the aggressive offender in this regard. And they've been very effective with their propaganda campaign, you know, the Lego videos and the new Minion videos and all these things that are coming out that are appealing to an American audience.
Yeah, those Lego videos, man, they've been really, you know, cutting these devils, man. They've been exposing everything, man. Right? And, you know, bros did lessons on it showing you how, you know, the God they worship
You know, they had the Baphomet and the Baal, and they set it on fire. All right, they showed the trafficking. They gave hints on that, right? They were showing that that America
in the form of Lego cartoons too.
You know, they've been exposing a lot in those so-called, you know, those Lego videos, man. You know, the propaganda and stuff like that. You know, so that, again, the whole world is waking up.
And they're appealing to a global audience. So, you know, I think that alone, given our sense of American exceptionalism and that we're the shining beacon on the hill and all this sort of thing, to see us ranking there with Iran, Afghanistan, North Korea, and then our great ally Israel is should be pretty stunning. One wake-up call, I think, for a lot of Americans about how we are viewed at this point injustifiably. Not out of envy or blah, 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 but because of the way that we have conducted ourselves in the world, certainly in this Trump administration, but as you point to, the Iraq war, going back further. Let's jump ahead here for a moment to C5, because this ties directly into like Israel's view in the world and the way they've tried to manipulate the perception of Israel on the global stage. So there's this contest called Eurovision where like countries compete with a pop star and they have a song. I've never actually watched it. I've only seen some clips on.
All right, let's have some more real quick. Let's go to this one. All right, but like you were saying, that ties back to that shameful spewing. Let me get that real quick. Habakkuk 2 and 16. All right, because how America and these small hats are being viewed by the world is unfavorable. It's in a horrible light. Habakkuk 2 and 16, thou art filled with shame for glory, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand should be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. And that's what's happening worldwide.
Yep, and you hear these people frustrated with Trump because of the fact that here's what they voted for, here's what they got, and they find out to be the fucking liar he always was. You know, but you still got those that worship him till this place becomes a lake of fire. You know, shameful spewing is what we started out with in this lesson.
Okay, everything has been revealed and exposed in this time. The whole world sees it. See, NLT, but soon it will be turning. But soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. Come and drink and be exposed. Drink from the cup of the Lord's judgment, and all your glory shall be turned to shame. Exactly, and they can't escape it. Okay, their shame is being seen on the world stage, man. And it's a terrible look that they can't get out of. Right, so let's jump to here. Here's another one from Breaking Points that says, Bibi blames social media for anti-you-know-what as NYT horrifying report drops.
So, like everything else, though, America can't play that G.I. Joe, real American hero scenario anymore. Everybody sees them like the boys. If you ever watch the boys on Prime, you know, they see them as the bullies, as the ones creating the problem, then pretending to be the heroes. That's how they see Babylon now. So they're shame, you know, right along with the Israeli state, these gutter rats.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his flashy 60 Minutes interview on Sunday night, which Crystal and I covered yesterday, also made some comments in regard to what he sees as rising anti-Semitism, and he has a theory of why this is apparently happening. It is related to, you guessed it, social media. Let's take a listen to this first thought.
We have seen the deterioration of the support for Israel in the United States almost, I would say, correlates almost 100% with the geometric rise of social media. And that by itself is not what caused it. And I don't believe in censoring them or anything, but I'll tell you what happened. We have several countries that basically manipulated social media with bot farms, with fake addresses, to break the American sympathy to Israel, to break the American-Israeli alliance because they think it's in their interests. And they do it in a clever way. You know, it's like you hear a text message. I'm a red-blooded Texan. I always supported Israel, but I can't stand what they're doing. I'm turning against Israel. And then you trace the address to some basement in Pakistan, you know. And that's crazy. And he just admitted that, look, they're tracing everything, the comments, everything we've been warning you about, man. They're going back and seeing who's leaving comments, who's watching videos, who's saying what, because they're guilty, right? Real quick, this is Joel 20 and verse 27. And it reads, it says, the heaven shall reveal his iniquity, the heaven going back to the prophets, all right? And also this internet, man, okay? The heaven shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him, verse 27, right? The heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them. You see that? So there's nothing they can do. All right, they're in a corner, man, and we know just based off what he's saying, okay, it's all going to lead to the famine of the word. They're getting ready to censor everything. All right, they already got you categorized. You see, this is why all this stuff that we've been going, bring out these lessons about dealing with social media. All right, they're getting ready to shut it all down, as we've been warning you all about. All right, Amos 8 and 11. Okay, the guilt and the exposure is destroying them, man. Okay, Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, it's coming. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and shall not find it. All right? So now we understand why. Okay? Clever way, it's like your text message. I'm a red-blooded Texan. I always supported Israel, but I can't stand what they're doing. I'm turning against Israel. And then you trace the address to some basement in Pakistan. You know, that's something that has hurt us badly. While we were fighting this physical and military battle on 7 battlefields, 7-front war, we were completely exposed on the 8th front. The media war, really, the social media war.
There you go. He just said it. Thy own tongue shall fall upon themselves. They've been exposed. What's being brought out against them on social media has hurt them, man. They can't control the narrative. You see?
In a healthy political climate, he would be asked to apologize for those comments because he is implying that the American people are so stupid that them little text messages are what swayed them to start, especially he's talking about the American right. You can hear because he talks about this red-blooded American Texan. That's his way of talking specifically about Republican voters, conservative right-leaners in the United States are just so dumb that their opinions can't possibly be informed. That if they have lost, if their support for Israel is declining, it's because they are misinformed, ill-informed, disinformed, or too stupid to actually just have an opinion that differs from Prime Minister Netanyahu, as Americans, by the way, people who believe their country's interests, their family interests, their children's interests are out of line with the party that Netanyahu, the Likud party, essentially. And so I'm going to toss this over to you with also the news that Israel is now bragging basically about banning Tyler Oliveira from entering the country. This is the next element, the Laura Loomer exclusive. She posts Israel's Minister of Diaspora and combating anti-Semitism exclusively tells me, quote, it was his pleasure to make sure Tyler Oliveira could not enter Israel today upon landing in the country from the U.S. She mentions, of course, also that Tyler just completed an interview with Tucker Carlson in which they bashed Israel with lies, and then Tyler hopped on an El Al flight to Israel, Sagar. So it's all just an op from foreign countries manipulating Americans, manipulating Tucker Carlson.
And that Edomite, he's been doing a whole bunch of videos we've seen. All right, how these small houses living off that welfare, they eating good, man. And nobody knows how they make money. You know what they do. He was asking them questions, right? So you try to go over to the small hat land, and they banned them from coming back. You see, so through and through, these people are being exposed all over the place, man. Right?
Using him, this is all from foreign money. It couldn't possibly be American people saying this is what is in my rational interest based on the best information that they can come up with.
Yeah, you really should read actually what this guy said, the minister of the diaspora. He says, the party is over. Anyone who comes here with the aim of spreading hatred will be sent back where they came from. This follows the implementation of the new policy, entry into Israel or activity within Israel will not be permitted for anyone who disseminates anti-Semitic content, supports BDS, or incites against Israel and the Jewish people. The rule is simple. Whoever incites against us simply will not be here. And of course, Tyler Oliveira, to my knowledge, the video which they are the most upset with him about is the one about, I think it's a Hasidic Jewish community, I think, in New Jersey. Okay, listen, go watch it, for yourself. Go watch it. You can decide, whether it's anti-Semitic or not. I would say it fits within the broad catalog of the work that
he exposed them damn devils, man. All right, he has a whole bunch of videos showing. You can go check it out if you haven't seen it, man. But hey, that's the point. You can watch the rest of that, but just bringing it back full circle. Again, now we understand why. Okay, they're gonna bring this thing. All right, this is the last resort. Okay, Israel's last resort in the nuclear crisis. The Samson option explained. All right, if we go down, we're taking you with us. So now it all makes sense, man. Okay? Definitely not a lot of time left. Right? That's pretty much the point, man. All right, I pray that you were edified and show on to the next one. Show on.